I'm Brendan Collins, this is Kurt's Kitchen, and I'm showing Gordon Ramsay how to not f*** up a steak sandwich.
Let's make a steak sandwich.
Oh, let's make a steak sandwich. I got huge respect for Gordon Ramsay, however, even the best f*** up sometimes. And no one is safe from me. Didn't get a nice caramelization on that steak. There's a lot of liquid going into those onions. Mayonnaise, wasabi. I know this is your new TikTok, Gordon, but you should stick to your day job. There is no fucking Michelin star in that sandwich. They are huge chunks of steak. That's going to be like chewing on a fucking pool ball. That steak's a little bit rare. I'd just like to know how you're supposed to actually fucking eat that thing. I know Gordon Ramsay's got a big mouth, but I don't even think he'd be able to get his chops around that. Now, after watching that fucking disaster, let's go make a real steak sandwich. You got it, the Philly fucking cheesesteak. Not that Scottish looking dodgy thing you fucking made. Basically, a Philly cheesesteak all revolves around the quality of the bread. It has to be nice and chewy on the outside, not too crusty, but chewy, with a little crust, and super soft in the middle. We love to call these things bloomers in England. In Philadelphia, they just call it a roll. Delicious. This one comes from a bakery just up the street. Then what we have is some really thinly sliced ribeye. Nice fat content. You don't want it too close to the chuck end because then it's going to have too much fat. Then when you add the cheese, it's going to be a little bit too on the fatty end. I know in Philadelphia, the cheese that they use is either Cheese Whiz, Velveeta, or American cheese. We ain't f***ing about with that shit. We're going to use real cheese. So we have cheddar, provolone, and a little bit of mozzarella. I know I'm going to get shit for this from people in Philadelphia. It was a Philadelphia guy who told me this. He also told me that green peppers don't belong in a Philly cheesesteak, which I was shocked about. I thought they did belong in there. He tells me that a classic Philly cheesesteak pepper is a long hot. One beautiful thing I like about cooking traditional dishes from places is I love your comments, so please give them to me. Nice onion, make sure you're peeling it down. I like to peel mine down past the yellow. This yellow doesn't really break down, so you want to get rid of that. It can end up being like a little bit chewy. Root behind you. Nice diced onion. I'm also going to chop the steak. Classically, and in Philadelphia, it would get chopped right there on the griddle. But this is a great product, and we don't want to overcook it. So I'm just going to give it a quick chop, nothing too crazy. Just like that. This is going to be a hell of a fucking cheesesteak with all this meat. All right, let's go to the griddle. Little oil, get our onions on. Nice heat on this griddle. A little bit more oil. I wish you could smell this, it smells so good. A little salt. You need to caramelize your onions, so make sure you give them enough time. Don't rush this part. You're taking out the liquid, and you're taking out the acids, and then the natural sugars that are in the onions are starting to caramelize. That's why they turn sweet. So it's basically just all its natural sugars. So the longer and slower that you do it, the more sweet your onions are going to be. You also really want to make sure that you get rid of the acids, because that is what gives you that kind of oniony flavor, the bad breath, onion bad breath. It's also what makes your eyes water when you're cutting them. If you have a griddle like this, obviously what you want to do is you want to make sure that the back part of the griddle is a little bit cooler than the front part of the griddle for when you're doing the steak. You can also manipulate it. So I turn mine down, but I'm going to turn it up just a little bit now, just to make sure that I've got a nice heat for my meat. Just a little bit more oil. And the way that you do it is you chop it like this. Add a little bit of salt, and if you can see those really nice caramelization. So now what we do is we're going to add the onions to the steak, and this is the part where you got to move fast. So we add them in because we're going to add the cheese. And what we want to do is we want to sort of make it the same shape as our bread. And we're going to add the provolone. I like to use a lot more provolone, the mozzarella, and the sharp cheddar, just to give us that little bit of acidity. And at this point, it's fast. Just want that cheese to melt. You don't want to caramelize the cheese. You want to get it all the way through and make sure it's melted. Last little bit of salt, some pepper, and then we're going to take our roll, cut, bring it over, allow it to take on board some of the steam so it warms the bread through, and then we're going to use this as a scoop. And that is a Philly fucking cheesesteak. If you so choose, you can put ketchup on it. So let's get some ketchup. That looks good. I'm Brennan Collins, this is Cursed Kitchen. This is a damn good steak sandwich, far better than yours, Gordon.